Joining us now is Caroline Leavitt, White House press secretary, and our hearts just break for these families that are affected by these horrific crimes. And now to think that that twice deported, now convicted criminal, someone who was here illegally, was able to kill 2 teenagers and will walk free. What does the White House say about that? Caroline, welcome.
Well, first of all, listening to the heartache from those 2 parents is truly heartbreaking, and our hearts are with them. And not only are we praying for them, but this administration is taking action. The Department of Homeland Security and ICE have already said that a detainer has been put on this individual if he is to be released, and he will immediately be transferred into ICE custody, we hope, if the state of California complies. And if not, the Department of Justice will be seeking a conviction against this man, where he will spend time in federal prison for taking the lives of those 2 young Americans. So these results speak for themselves. President Trump is not going to tolerate illegal immigrant crime. And this individual case represents everything that is wrong with our immigration system. This individual was twice deported, but was allowed back into our country by the previous administration, took the lives of 2 young Americans, and is now barely facing any consequences. We will not tolerate it. We will not stand for that, and we will continue to enforce our nation's immigration laws and ensure that illegal immigrants who not only break our nation's immigration laws, but then further commit heinous acts of violence against law-abiding American citizens in our country are held to the fullest extent of the law.
But at the same time, we hear, Caroline, the grief from the parents in Bill Malugin's fine reporting, not only there in California, but in Maryland as well, with Rachel Morin's mother, Patty Morin. You have Democrats at taxpayer expense going down to El Salvador to plead for people who the president says are MS-13 gang members, who they describe as, quote, a Maryland man. And listen to what Patty Morin, Rachel Morin's mother, said about that. Listen to this here.
They would rather champion his cause, a criminal, than the victim. I think it is utterly despicable. As an American citizen, as a Maryland citizen, and as a mom, it tells me that I'm not important or valuable.
So you had Senator Chris Van Hollen of Maryland go down there, but then you also had members of Congress from Arizona who have nothing to do with this going down there to El Salvador. And you wonder, what is the Democrats' big play here? I was talking to Kayla McGee-White yesterday, and she thought that if the Democrats can make it almost impossible to deport an MS-13 gang member, how is this administration going to deport some non-criminal illegal aliens?
Well, the Democrat Party is full-blown crazy. Their motto should be illegal immigrant criminals first and American citizens last, because that's exactly what they are doing. You have seen Democrat elected officials who swear an oath to stand up for their constituents and law-abiding American citizens spending more time advocating for illegal alien criminals, gangbangers, and wife-beaters in the case of Abrego Garcia from Maryland. It's despicable. It is disgusting. And we are going to continue to call them out. And this administration is going to continue to fully enforce our nation's immigration laws. And how can we live in a sovereign country where the previous president, Joe Biden, was allowed to illegally traffic tens of millions of illegal aliens into our country, and the courts did nothing to stop him? But now you have President Trump, who was duly elected overwhelmingly by the American people to deport these illegal criminals from our communities. And you have rogue district court judges that are trying to stop him at every turn. It's unacceptable. And I will remind these district court judges and the Democrat Party that 90% of the American people support deporting illegal immigrants who commit crimes in the interior of our country. That's according to a latest Washington Post poll. So the president will not only win in the court of law, but he is winning in the court of public opinion. And he is delivering on his promise to secure our homeland.
All right, Caroline, we're watching markets. They seem to be so sensitive to everything that comes out of the White House right now. Whether or not, the Federal Reserve Chair will keep his job, whether or not the president's softening his stance on tariffs, most recently saying that, talking about the Chinese imports, they're very high. The tariffs on imports very high, and it won't be that high, won't be anywhere near that high, said the president. It'll come down substantially, but it won't be zero. Is it fair to say, Caroline, that the president's stance on tariffs with China is softening?
I don't think that's fair to say. In fact, I spoke to the president about it this morning. He is not going to give up on ensuring that there are fair trade practices around the world. He is not giving up on the fact that China has been ripping off the United States of America for far too long. And President Trump has brought hundreds of countries now from around the world to the negotiating table. We have 18 proposals on paper from nations around the world who recognize that they have, in fact, been ripping off the United States. And there's a president in the Oval Office right now who is no longer going to tolerate it. So this is the art of the deal. President Trump is using the leverage of the United States to bring nations to the negotiating table. That includes China, who he remains very optimistic there will be a fair trade deal with China that finally puts American workers and American industry first. And everybody across the aisle, ask Democrats, they've been saying it for decades, everybody understands what President Trump is doing is in the best interests of the United States, especially our national security interests. We need to manufacture critical supplies, critical minerals, pharmaceuticals, chips right here in the United States of America, not just for our economic security, but our national security as well. And the president is focused on doing that.
Caroline, let's see if we can break a little news here. What's the timetable for the reduction in the tariffs against China? The president was ambiguous about it. Scott Bessent seemed to suggest it wouldn't happen until negotiations are at least underway.
Let me be clear. There will be no unilateral reduction in tariffs against China. The president has made it clear China needs to make a deal with the United States of America. And we are optimistic that will happen. And when that continues, it will be up to the president what the tariff rate on China will be. But we certainly need to see a reduction in tariffs and non-monetary tariff barriers from China as well. And we also need to continue seeing these companies abroad return their manufacturing to the United States of America so we can shore up these critical supply chains.
Okay. Well, markets seem to be watching every bit of it, well off their highs of the session, but still up about 500 points today in anticipation of what may be coming next. Dow at 538. Caroline, always appreciate when you can join us. Thank you so much.
Great to see you guys. Thank you.
Good to see you. Thanks, Caroline.